Hey guys, it's me again, Orksler. What if where I last left off? Let's see, checking. Where I last left off, Karma, Clayton, and Cynthia just finished their their weapons. Clayton made a Lancer, which is a machine gun with a frickin' chainsaw attached to it. How badass is that? And Cynthia got pretty much like a bayonet, but instead her gun transforms into somewhat like a spear or like a glaive. Is how I thought about it. And Carmine's, it just doesn't really change into anything. He just punches things if they get too close, or chainsaws them in half. It's awesome. But they resume their training from then on. As they go on like field trips, you could call it, to go observe Grimm with professional huntsmen. And when they bring like a class of 20 kids out there, they bring like 20 huntsmen. As they all bring their weapons, just in case. And they even have like some combat gear, you could call it. As Clayton is standing there in his like metal armor, he's like, I guess we'll just wait here. As they watch the huntsman, as they show what type of Grimm, and it's the Beowulf, which is, I'll hopefully put up a picture, which is pretty much like a werewolf, sort of. It like stands on two legs and like swipes at you with its arms. It's like, now Beowulfs typically travel in packs. Looks like we got ourselves a loner right here. And see, as then more Beowulfs start emerging from the forest, it's like, oh, appears we're wrong. Who wants target practice? As the huntsmen all just like whip out their weapons, as a few of the kids are like excited, like Clayton's like, oh hell yeah, this is what I've been waiting for. He loads his gun up. He's like, all right. It's like, all right, prepare, aim, fire. As there's just like a wall of guns that just start shooting off. The Grimm are no need to say dead. As Carmine has large clips of ammo, so he isn't even halfway through his magazine when they are told to stop firing. It's like, well, that's kind of sad. As a few kids are like, man, I gotta reload. It's like, what do you have? A revolver? It's like, of course you do. What about you? I got a lever action rifle. It's like, why? Can't they appreciate the firearms of a fucking machine gun? As Cynthia's like, hey, I got you right there, but I think mine actually hits harder than yours. As the Retro Lancer actually does do a bit more damage than the Lancer, primarily based on the whole more damaging, less accurate. More accurate, less damaging. Personally, I prefer the Lancer, because typically I like to keep my enemies far enough away, because if they get close enough, they can pretty much just whip out a shotgun and blast you away. That's all it is. It's literally like, stay 60 feet away from me and we're good. But, I digress. Deku and them still just go on with their lives. As they're constantly training, working out, just constantly trying to strengthen themselves. As one day comes to their final exam, as it's like, alright, your goal? Kill a bunch of Grimm. We're going to be we've captured dozens, if not hundreds of Grimm for you guys to kill. It's like, are you sure we're ready for that? As one kid said. As Carmine's like, professional huntsmen take on hundreds of Grimm each day. Come on, it can't be that. It's that he doesn't say it can't be that difficult. If you think only 100 Grimm a day is going to be difficult, then you'll probably wash out if you even go to a huntsman school. Better yet, join the military. They actually like people who can take at least 50 Grimm by themselves. As the guy hears that comment, he's like, hey, fuck you, Clayton. It's like, oh, shut up. I was like, hey, watch the words. Az is like, yes, sir. Clayton's like, cracks his neck. He's like, alright, what do we got? So you got normal werewolves. Hell yeah. And that's about it. That's it? Just wolves? It's like, it's kind of difficult trying to grab the giant scorpion motherfuckers. No, they're not using this language. He's like, it's difficult to grab scorpions, literal scorpions bigger than tanks. And it's difficult to grab a bear that can easily swipe off 5 men's head. What do you think that leaves for us? Those little boar things and wolves. What, you got boars? It's like, yep. But there really isn't that much of them. So we're pretty much going to be giving each of you, like, at least 1 boar. If we had some other huntsman's ways, we'd be throwing at least 20 at you. But that's just a no-go, because we just don't have that amount on hand. As Clayton and Cynthia are, like, nodding to this, it's like, alright, let's do this. Get ready. As they're like, alright. As they crack their necks, it's like, you'll be going out in teams of 2. It's because quite a few huntsmen don't operate alone. They typically travel in teams. If you want to try doing this test on your own, very well. But let it be known that you won't be fighting the same amount by yourself. We'll simply just, well, you'll just have your amount of enemies divided. As Clayton and Cynthia are like, alright, we know what to do, right? She's like, yeah, of course. Like, what do you think? Do I know what to do? He's like, oh, don't get smart with me. It's like, you ready for this? He's like, yeah, I am. Just kind of nervous, you know? Like, alright. We don't have to be nervous, Clayton. You know that. He's like, oh, I'm just nervous about score, really. We don't know what they're testing us on. Is it just about the ability to kill the Grim? Or are they taking in tactics involved? I really don't like how sometimes they do these tests. It's like, you gotta be so smart. You gotta be so strong. They have timers. They fluctuate the exact parameters to get in. That's kind of difficult sometimes, you know? Anyways, it's enough worrying about it. Let's get in there. As it's like, Clayton and Cynthia, you're a go. As they get out into, like, the makeshift arena, you could call it, where it's a wooded area with the drum just being released in. As it's like, remember, stay together, move quietly. He's like, why are they using tactics used by the Atlas military? It's like, well, they're from Atlas, you know. He's like, were they cadets or something? He's like, no, that kid's dad is actually captain, apparently. He's been training with them and teaching them strategy since he was like 6. I think that's a bit over-exaggerated. He's like, maybe, but doesn't change the fact he's actually one of the best people here. Skill-wise, strength-wise, and his semblance is a bitch if you get caught up with it. It's like, what is it? Well, what it is called Iron Wall. He pretty much, his skin becomes as tough as iron. You know how we use our semblance and shielding all that to make our skin tougher and such? Able to take very tough blows. It's like, yeah. Well, let's just say we call it Iron Wall, but it's something beyond that. Like, his skin can harden to that thing, elevated to an above average charged semblance that keeps you protected. But this also grants a bonus. He can focus his semblance elsewhere. He can either use it to strengthen his he can make himself stronger, faster, whatever he wants. It's a pain to deal with. It's like, yeah. So, what are we looking for? Well, nothing really. Particularly, we're just going to time them on this. So, let's see. They're taking it steady, so I guess that's a good idea. But just like as they hear howling and such, Clayton and tell Cynthia, alright, let's get there more quickly. As they start pushing forward more faster, they eventually find a single Grim, as then they shoot it. And then another appears, and then she's like, I think we just found the horde. He's like, I think we did. As they just go out in the open and just start shooting. As they're like, and it looks like they're taking a more direct approach. It's like, is that wise? It's like, hell if I know. These two are such a well-made match that it's actually hard to find a group of people, more like a group that can really just put a strain on them, you could say. It's like, really? It's like, yep. These two are tough. Extremely tough. That girl has been training with Clayton since she was like 10. And he's been doing it since he was like 10, so they've been training all their life together. Yeah, she was part of those refugees that came over from Atlas, wasn't it? It's like, yeah. Heard the kid wants to become an actual huntsman instead of joining the military like his dad. It's like, yeah. So, who do you think is going to have the best score on this? Oh, it's definitely going to be them. As then we cut back to Clayton and Cynthia. Cynthia is pretty much disemboweling a Beowulf, while Clayton punches one in the face and then shoots two others. As he's like, eat shit and die, as he crushes one's head. He's like, fuck you. As he just goes through this, as it's a constant cursing fest, with him just saying, oh yeah. And Cynthia's like, watch your language, please. They may deduct points for that. He's like, nobody cares what you're going to say in the middle of combat. Have fun. She's like, well, fuck it. As she just joins in as well. As they're back to back, as it's just like, see, their teamwork is so good, they don't even have to give each other signals on what to do. As Clayton pretty much spins around with his chainsaw and cuts a Beowulf in half that lunged at Cynthia. With Cynthia then taking a step, switching her gun to the spear form, and pretty much runs through a Beowulf that just charged at him. As at the end of it, everything is dead around them. They have ammo left. They have like enough ammo to take on another relatively large horde. As they're like, well done. As they're like, you guys pass. Now get on out of there. Next group's gotta go through. As they're like, oh hell yeah. They like give each other a high five. It's like, man, we passed. He's like, yeah, we did. So what are you gonna do? He's like, oh, I want to go join Vale, this minstrel place. I believe, yeah, it's minstrel. I want to go join Beacon. It's one of the best huntsman academies out there. It's like, oh, sorry, the best huntsman academy. Like, why not Atlas? Clayton says they're a bit uptight, for my taste. Like, my dad's strict. You think my dad's a bit strict? Just wait till you get to Atlas. They're more of a military than anything, while the Huntmen in other areas are their own separate branch. And she's like, I see what you mean. So, you're gonna apply there? He's like, I'm gonna see if I can sneak my way in there. Yeah. She's like, maybe I'll join you. He's like, hey, you don't gotta if you don't want. She's like, who says I didn't want to? Glenn nods his head. He's like, alright. As they actually would be interested in going see Vale and Beacon Academy. As they don't really travel over there, they really stay in Minstrel, really. That town they got. As a year later, pretty much Clayton actually wants to go over and get a place prepped for him to stay. Because he understands how Beacon works, and he's got his papers and all that ready to join Beacon. Because from what it sounds like when it comes to RWBY, you gotta stay, it's pretty much like a high school, not high school, yeah, well, it's a training academy, essentially. And that you get your papers and such and recommendations, I guess, with what John says. That he forged his documents and such. So I think it all depends, really. Hang on. But he would actually like to go over to see Vale for a bit and see what it's like. As his parents are pretty much saying, what do you mean you want to go see what it is? As Clayton's dad is somewhat actually against this, while his mom is also against this. As he's trying to push his point, saying that it will just be a temporary thing to see what it's like. What would you do? See the sights? As he's like, no, I would actually familiarize myself with customs, the city around Beacon Academy, stuff like that. As he's like, you're not going. He's like, how about if I didn't go along? He's like, who are you gonna take with you? As Cynthia just like, I will. As he's like, Cynthia, you don't count. It's like, oh. As is like, why not? She's pretty much part of the family at this point. As Clayton walks over and puts his arm around her shoulders, she's like, she's practically your only daughter. So what do you mean she doesn't count? As Cynthia's just like, elbows him in the side. Ow! Why? As he's like, what was that for? As he just looked at her, she's like, sorry. Get off me. He's like, sorry. But you see my point. They're like, as his dad's rubbing his chin, he's like, Mama C's like, no. He's like, there ain't, know what? Fine. As he like stands up, he's like, outside now. As he's like, what? He's like, if you can prove you can take care of yourself, fine. You can go. But if you lose, you go to Atlas Academy. As his dad's like, you gotta be kidding me. He's like, yeah. What, you chicken? You scared you're gonna lose, Clayton? He's like, oh, you know what? Fine, old man. As he like puts down his gun, as he puts down whatever he was holding, he's like, take this outside. He's like, where are you going? He's like, I'm grabbing my weapons. We're fighting. We're doing this for real. It's like, fine. There's a place where he can go now. As they pretty much grab their gear, as he brings his guns and everything. He has a revolver, remember. As he's like, I'm gonna kick this old man's ass. As he's just like mumbling to himself, Cynthia's just like, oh god, they really are getting into it this time. They go there and pretty much get into the ring. It's like, so Clayton, what are you gonna do? So it's like, how do you want to do this? We can take it. As then he just starts shooting at him. He's like, it's like, old man, you don't let the enemy talk. You just fight. As he goes moving forward, he actually goes just straight upon. He just goes for the full-on, unending assault. Keeps pushing and pushing and pushing. His dad actually surprised, saying, I taught him too much. As his dad really didn't keep any secrets to himself. His dad doesn't like secrets. Clayton just pushes him and pushes him. Eventually, Clayton just throws away his gun and actually just goes and punches his dad as he turns his semblance iron wall on and just right hooks him and punches him. As Clayton's dad feels his jaw is actually starting to shake. He can feel it all over his body. His organs feel like they're starting to have issues. As he's like, alright, Clayton, calm down. Oh, Jesus. What the fuck? What the hell, Clayton? He's like, sorry, Dad, but you threatened to send me to Atlas. That ain't happening. You threatened me, I go in no holds barred. He's like, I can fucking see that. Well, as he throws a flashbang in the air, Clayton's like, son of a... As his helmet actually helps with the whole flashbang, Clayton's dad ends up tackling him. He's like, oh god. As Clayton's dad he may be old, but he's like a mule. Not a mule. He's like an ox at this point. As he pretty much picks Clayton up and throws him over his shoulder, actually giving him a solid kick to the side. As he's like, shit. It's like, yeah, I didn't teach you everything. I may have sounded like I did. No, wait. It wasn't that he didn't teach him everything. It's just that he didn't show him everything he had. Like, tool-wise. He's like, I grabbed the flashbang just in case. She's like, you flashbanged our song. And he's like, he was kicking me. What do you expect me to do? As they're shouting at each other, Clayton takes his chance and actually flips his dad over and puts him in an arm lock. He's like, say uncle, old man. How about you say daddy? As he just smashes him over, he's like, Dad, oh God, my eyes. As his helmet went straight into smashed his face into the ground. He's like, ow. It's like, Dad, I'm going to kick your teeth in. And he's like, oh, I'd like to see you try. Come on. As it's like, as that's how the fight proceeds, is a constant pushing with Clayton putting, for some odd reason, this is more like a fatherly and son brawl. It's not really an actual fight. As Clayton wins. Of course he does. He's a main character. He's gonna win. As he goes and grabs his jaw, he's like, damn it, old man. Oh God. As he actually feels that it's disaligned as he goes and then pops it back in, he's like, oh, that's better. Oh God. Like, I win. I get to go to Vale for a little while. It's like, alright. As they all pack that up, Clayton is like, I won. So I get to go to Vale now. It's like, I better start reading up on Vale. It's like, Vale, Beacon Academy, yada yada yada, White Fang activity. That ain't good. Crime rates, not really higher than any other place. Well, aside from Vacuo, which Vacuo, if I remember, is like the Old West, you'd call it, like a lawless place. Yeah, it's pretty standard city, just a bit more White Fang than usual. Well, I guess this is not gonna be an issue, hopefully. Well, as he sits up, he's like, time to go to bed. As he puts down his scroll, which is like a phone, and just like, well, today was eventful, and hopefully next week, or month, will be uneventful. As he closes his eyes and goes to sleep. And that's where I'm going to be ending it off at. Sorry this is short, but, sorry. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope you guys continue to enjoy this. And I hope you guys have a nice day, nice night, nice life.